Here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about the concept of white genocide. It mistakes long-term demographic trends for conspiracies. White genocide is the notion that white people are being driven to extinction by things like immigration and multiculturalism and other stuff that probably seems pretty evil if all you care about is making sure there are as many white people on the planet as possible at all times. The thing is, there are only so damn many white people in the first place because we invaded other people's countries and took over. The current trends of non-white populations increasing in traditionally white countries is the natural result of people of color finally obtaining the same sort of rights and privileges that most of us white folks have taken for granted for centuries. And you'd have to be a real dick to have a problem with that. Or utterly blind. Which brings me to number 2. It denies white privilege. The concept of white genocide frames white people as a threatened group. I find this equal parts offensive and hilarious, since you could hardly find a more privileged, less vulnerable category of humanity than us white folks. The concept also presupposes that white dominance over people of color is just the natural order of things, and rising percentages of non-white people in traditionally white populations represent attacks against this natural order. This perceived threat leads directly to the next item on the list. It vilifies diversity. One of the most important steps in the societal maturation of the United States was the shifting of our attitude toward diversity, to view it as a strength rather than a weakness. This was a lot more difficult than you might think for a country with e pluribus unum on the money, but we're getting there. Promoters of the notion of white genocide would roll back what progress we have made in this area. They see racial and cultural diversity as an existential threat to white people. From where they stand, there are enemies on all fronts. Hispanics pouring across the southern border of the United States, Middle Eastern Muslims flooding into European countries, the economic influence of China growing day by day by day, all those brown and yellow people out to get us. Pretty soon there won't be any white people left. It's a vehicle for racist victim playing. Like I said earlier, considered as a group, white people are pretty much the least threatened, most privileged people on the planet. But that's no fun, especially if you as an individual don't feel all that privileged. It's much more satisfying to imagine yourself as a member of an oppressed group and to blame your problems on people who are different and coming to steal what's yours. Testimony of people who have actually been victimized by racism has led me to the conclusion that it's not very fun, but pretending to be victimized by racism, especially when you are actually a member of the group that has historically done most of the victimizing? Oh, that's delicious. But still, it's only pretend. Because here's the last thing you need to know about white genocide. It's not even a thing. Here's what should be the first clue that white genocide is nothing more than a fantasy of alarmist, self-pitying, dipshit white racists. The term person of color refers to anyone who is not a white person. Our racial vocabulary is built on a binary of white people and every other group of people. See, it's just that we white people have dominated the Western world so overwhelmingly for so long that some of us just panic in the face of even very modest natural corrections to that imbalance. There's nothing to worry about. White people are certainly not an endangered species. We're not our own species, but you know what I mean. Racist, xenophobic, paranoid, shit-for-brains white people aren't their own species either. But I still kind of hope they'll go extinct eventually. It's the dewy-eyed optimist in me. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.